The crowd went silent. Cameras froze mid-click. Under the bright lights of a luxury hotel ballroom in Manila, a legend stood face to face with another. On one side, Be on the Lookout Yeung, the man once feared on screen for his monstrous build, his crushing arms, and his brutal stare. On the other, Manny Pacquiao, the people's champion, calm, smiling, wearing nothing but humility and grace. The event was supposed to be peaceful, a charity gala to raise funds for children's hospitals. Celebrities, fighters, and politicians filled the hall. Reporters lined the red carpet. No one expected drama. Until Be on the Lookout Yeung grabbed the microphone. He smirked, flexed his massive arms, and looked straight at Manny. "You're fast, Pacquiao," he said in a deep voice that filled the hall, "but I could knock you out in one punch." The audience gasped. Some laughed nervously. Others thought it was part of the show. But Bolo wasn't joking. His eyes burned with challenge. "Let's give the people what they want. One round. No holding back." Pacquiao blinked slowly, not out of fear, but surprise. He hadn't come to fight. He'd come to serve. "Sir," he said softly, "this event is about helping children, not hurting egos." But Bolo stepped closer. "What's the matter, champ? You afraid to face someone who doesn't hide behind gloves?" The tension in the room spiked. Phones came out. People started recording. Murmurs spread like fire. Be on the Lookout just challenged Pacquiao. Manny's security tried to step in, but he raised a calm hand. "No, it's okay," he said. "Sometimes people forget that the loudest one in the room is usually the weakest." That one line hit like a punch. The room went dead silent. Bolo's face hardened. "You talk like a wise man," he growled, "but words won't save you in the ring." Pacquiao gave a faint smile, the smile of a man who's fought wars far greater than pride. He slowly stood, straightened his jacket, and said quietly, "If you insist, then maybe it's time you learn what true power really looks like." The crowd erupted, phones up, eyes wide, history in the making. The Manila skyline glittered outside the grand ballroom, but inside, the energy was electric. Crystal chandeliers reflected off the polished marble floors, casting light on rows of VIP tables filled with celebrities, athletes, and media personnel. Cameras flashed incessantly, capturing every smile, every handshake, every glamorous outfit. The air was thick with excitement. Everyone there knew this was no ordinary charity event. Manny Pacquiao had arrived with a quiet confidence, the kind that doesn't need fanfare. He moved through the crowd, shaking hands, sharing laughs, and signing autographs for fans who had waited hours just to see him. Today wasn't about him. It was about the children. Every step he took radiated calm authority, a champion in every sense of the word, yet humble enough to understand why he had to be here. Then, like a storm breaking through a sunny day, Bolo Yeung appeared. His presence demanded attention. Not just because of his towering frame or sculpted physique, but because he carried an aura of intimidation cultivated over decades in martial arts and cinema. He strode in with purpose, flexing his massive arms as though the room itself were his stage. Every head turned. Every conversation halted. Cameras pivoted toward him. Some people whispered, others gasped. The host, sensing the tension and trying to lighten the atmosphere, chuckled nervously. "Maybe we'll get a friendly spar today?" Bolo's grin widened, sharp and confident. His eyes glinted with mischief and challenge. "Friendly," he said, his voice low and commanding. "I don't do friendly." The room froze. A heavy silence blanketed the ballroom, broken only by the faint hum of the air conditioning and the soft clicks of cameras snapping in disbelief. Every eye shifted toward Manny Pacquiao. The crowd knew history was about to happen. Manny's gaze remained steady, calm, unwavering. He didn't flinch, didn't raise his voice. His hands rested lightly at his sides, relaxed but ready, the body of a warrior, the mind of a teacher. The contrast between him and Bolo couldn't have been starker. Bolo, a storm of raw power, hunger, and ego; Manny, a pillar of control, patience, and silent strength. The murmur of the crowd grew. People leaned forward in their seats. Phones rose like a wall, recording every second. Some whispered among themselves, trying to predict what would happen. Others simply watched, frozen in anticipation. No one had ever seen a moment like this. Two legends, decades apart in fame and style, standing face to face in a room designed for elegance, now charged with tension thicker than steel. Bolo stepped a few feet closer, his presence like a challenge incarnate. "What's the matter, champ?" he said, voice echoing through the hall. "Afraid to face someone who doesn't hold back?" Pacquiao's lips curved in a faint, knowing smile. "I'm not afraid," he said quietly. "I'm here for the children. That's the fight that matters today." The words hit the room with the force of a punch. Cameras clicked furiously. Journalists leaned forward, scribbling notes. The audience, sensing the gravity of the moment, felt a collective shiver. This wasn't just a celebrity spat. This was a collision of worlds, power versus humility, ego versus purpose, theatrics versus discipline. Bolo's brow furrowed, a mix of frustration and disbelief crossing his face. He was used to commanding rooms with mere presence, yet here was a man unmoved by intimidation, radiating a confidence that didn't rely on threats or size. The room hung on every second, waiting for Manny's next move. "Before we continue, tell me in the comments, where are you watching from? And salute to all humble warriors who fight with respect." The room had gone completely silent. Every whisper, every clink of glass, every shuffle of feet vanished like smoke. All eyes were on the two men at the center of the ballroom, Bolo Yeung, a living symbol of brute force and cinematic menace, and Manny Pacquiao, the quiet storm of the ring, calm yet unshakable. Bolo flexed, his muscles rippling under the bright lights. "You talk a lot for a man who's about to learn his lesson," he growled. His voice carried authority and menace, the kind that could freeze a room, and for a moment, it did. Cameras zoomed in, reporters scribbled frantically. Phones captured the entire moment, destined to go viral within minutes. Pacquiao remained still. His hands relaxed at his sides. His eyes were calm, scanning Bolo not with fear, but with careful calculation. He knew this wasn't about strength. This was about teaching, or surviving, without losing composure. "Brother," Pacquiao said softly, voice carrying a gentle authority that made even be on the lookout pause, "the fight that matters isn't the one you see with your fists. It's the fight you can't see in the mirror, the fight against ego, against arrogance." Bolo laughed, a low, mocking sound. "Ego? Arrogance? Don't give me philosophy, Pacquiao. I didn't come here to learn life lessons. I came here to show power." The crowd shifted nervously. Some leaned in closer, sensing that a real spectacle was about to unfold. Others began whispering, "Is he serious? Are they really going to fight?" Bolo lunged first. It was fast, precise, and violent, a strike designed to dominate. But Manny moved like water, slipping under Bolo's swing with an almost imperceptible shift. The crowd gasped, some screaming. One tap on Bolo's shoulder, gentle yet decisive, and Pacquiao calmly said, "One." Bolo's eyes widened. He had trained his entire life to face adversaries with raw strength, yet this man was untouchable. He swung again, harder this time. Another miss. Another graceful sidestep by Manny. 2. The room was electric. Cameras flashed uncontrollably. Gasps, whispers, and cheers mixed into a single wave of awe. People were witnessing a masterclass in control, timing, and calm power, a lesson Bolo had never experienced before. Frustration flashed across Bolo's face. He was used to commanding respect through sheer force, through intimidation. But here, force meant nothing. Power alone had no weight against a man whose strength came from focus, discipline, and humility. Bolo tried a third strike, faster, angrier, but Pacquiao anticipated it before it even left Bolo's arm. With a motion too fast for the naked eye to follow, Pacquiao tapped the air just an inch from Bolo's face. The crowd recoiled. The sound of air slicing like a whip echoed in the room. The silence that followed was deafening. Bolo froze. His pride, carefully built over decades, crumbled in a single instant. The legend of his invincibility, in movies, in gyms, in stories, had met reality. And reality had a quiet, unyielding face. Pacquiao lowered his hands, still calm, still controlled. "Strength isn't in how loud you hit," he said softly. "Strength is in how you carry yourself, how you respect others, and how you stay calm when the world expects you to explode." Bolo's chest heaved. The adrenaline, the anger, the ego, all of it slowly deflating as he realized the truth. He had walked in thinking he would dominate. He had walked in thinking he would teach a lesson. Instead, he had learned one. The room erupted in applause, but this was not just celebration. This was collective acknowledgement, a legend humbled by a greater force, not of fists, but of discipline, patience, and humility. Even reporters stopped typing, unsure if they had ever witnessed such a moment. Phones still recorded, but the energy of the room transcended any viral clip. History had been made, quietly, in front of dozens of astonished witnesses. The ballroom was electric. Every heartbeat seemed amplified in the heavy silence that followed Pacquiao's demonstration. Phones were still recording, but the energy had shifted. This wasn't just about a sparring moment, it was about a lesson unfolding live in front of the world. Bolo Yeung stood frozen, chest heaving, fists unclenched. The raw aggression that had fueled him for decades now seemed small, almost childish, in the face of calm mastery. For the first time in years, he felt a strange, uncomfortable thing, respect. And alongside it, something heavier, the bitter sting of humility. The crowd reacted in waves. Some gasped and whispered to their neighbors. Others applauded slowly at first, then louder, until the room erupted in thunderous cheers. People's jaws hung open, their phones still pointed, capturing every detail for the world to see. But the applause wasn't just for the spectacle, it was for the lesson that had silently unfolded. An old celebrity seated near the back leaned forward. "I've never seen anything like this," he murmured. Bolo thought he was untouchable, but Manny teaches without even touching. Bolo's face, still flushed, slowly softened. He took a deep breath, realizing that the room wasn't judging him harshly. They were witnessing transformation, the subtle, almost imperceptible change that comes when someone meets true greatness. His chest heaved as he lowered his gaze. "Pacquiao," Bolo said quietly, almost to himself, "I came here to prove strength. I thought force would earn respect. But I see now that it doesn't." Manny didn't reply immediately. He smiled faintly, calm as ever, radiating the same quiet confidence that had dominated the ring for years. He simply nodded. That nod, almost imperceptible, said more than words ever could. It said, lesson learned. Respect earned. Ego humbled. The audience noticed. Some wiped tears from their eyes. Others whispered, "That was beautiful." Journalists stopped typing, stunned into silence. The cameras kept rolling, capturing the subtle moment of revelation on Bolo's face, a legendary figure humbled, transformed, and, unexpectedly, grateful. Pacquiao then raised his hand slightly and gestured toward Bolo. "This man has trained his whole life," he said, his voice carrying across the room, "and yet, he is learning today. That is the true strength of a warrior, humility." The crowd erupted again. Applause, whistles, and cheers mingled into a cacophony of awe. People began standing, some on chairs, capturing every angle. Reporters scrambled to record interviews, social media feeds began lighting up. But in the center of the room, the real story wasn't the fight, it was the human moment of realization. Bolo finally straightened, wiping sweat from his brow. The anger and pride that had fueled him moments before were replaced by quiet admiration. He walked slowly toward Pacquiao and extended a hand. "You didn't just show skill," he said, voice heavy with emotion. "You showed the heart of a true champion." Pacquiao shook his hand firmly, smiling. "And you, brother, have the heart to learn." The room went silent for a heartbeat, the gravity of the moment settling in. Everyone realized they had witnessed more than just a confrontation between two legends. They had seen strength redefined, humility in action, and respect earned the hard way. Even the staff and security, who had been tense and ready to intervene, relaxed. Some of the younger fighters in the audience whispered to each other, awestruck. That's how you really fight, one said. The cameras captured the final tableau: Bolo Yeung, massive, imposing, yet humbled; Manny Pacquiao, serene, unwavering, teaching a lesson far greater than any fight could convey. The crowd erupted once more, cheers mingling with applause, capturing a moment destined to be replayed countless times on social media. The applause had barely faded when a subtle tension returned to the room. Bolo Yeung, still recovering from the shock of being outmaneuvered not by fists, but by patience and precision, glanced around nervously. He was used to commanding respect, whether on film sets or in martial arts circles, yet here, humility was the new authority. Suddenly, the ballroom doors opened wide. A sleek black car pulled up outside, its polished frame reflecting the city lights. 3 sharply dressed executives rushed in, carrying folders and documents, moving with urgency yet maintaining impeccable composure. The murmurs grew louder. Phones captured everything. The audience, sensing something monumental, leaned in, ready to witness yet another historic moment. "Mr. Pacquiao," one executive called out, breathless. "We've been waiting for you, sir." Bolo's eyes widened, a flash of confusion crossing his face. "Wait. Pacquiao? What's happening?" The lead executive stepped forward, holding out the documents. "Sir, congratulations. You are now officially recognized as the new majority owner of this foundation and the event operations." The room erupted. Gasps, cheers, and stunned whispers collided in a wave of disbelief. Bolo, who had come here thinking he would dominate the room, the cameras, and the legend himself, now realized that Manny had not only taught a lesson in humility, he had already been the one controlling the room's fate. Bolo's jaw dropped. He had underestimated not just the man in front of him, but the principle behind every action: calm, focused, and purposeful leadership. This wasn't just skill. It was true authority. Manny turned to Bolo, still calm, still smiling, and said quietly, "Sometimes the fight you don't see coming is the one that changes everything." Bolo swallowed hard. His ego, once towering and unyielding, now felt like a weight he couldn't lift. He had come to prove power with his fists. Instead, he had learned a lesson with his heart. The crowd watched, mesmerized. Journalists frantically typed headlines. Social media feeds exploded. But the real story wasn't the acquisition. It was the human lesson: even the strongest can learn humility, and even the quietest can command the room. Pacquiao glanced around, acknowledging the audience with a nod. This foundation exists to help children, to give hope, and to inspire. Strength isn't just in what you can do to others, it's in what you build for them. Bolo's voice was low, almost reverent. "I came to prove myself, to show power. Instead, I've learned how to respect it." The audience erupted into a standing ovation. Cameras caught Bolo's transformation, from challenger to student, from arrogance to understanding. Even the most cynical guests, who had expected spectacle over substance, were visibly moved. Manny, still calm and composed, walked toward Bolo and extended a hand. Bolo took it, a gesture heavier than any punch could ever be, carrying gratitude, respect, and newfound humility. The revelation settled over the room like a wave. True strength was not in intimidation, nor in dominating a crowd. It was in discipline, humility, and the ability to inspire respect without demanding it. What do you think? Should Bolo now continue as a student of humility, or try to reclaim his pride? Comment below, humble or pride. The applause had finally settled into murmurs of admiration and awe. Yet the air in the ballroom was still thick with emotion. Bolo Yeung, once the embodiment of raw strength and intimidation, stood frozen near the center of the room. His chest rose and fell heavily, not from physical exertion, but from a realization that had pierced deeper than any strike ever could. For decades, Bolo had been defined by his power, his muscular frame, his on-screen dominance, his reputation as someone no one could intimidate. And yet, here he was, humbled not by a fight, but by the grace and discipline of a man who could have crushed him but chose not to. Manny Pacquiao, calm and serene, walked slowly toward him. Every step seemed measured, deliberate, as if each motion carried the weight of decades of wisdom. The crowd instinctively stepped back, giving space to the silent drama unfolding. Cameras continued to roll, but the audience no longer focused on flashes, they focused on transformation. Bolo's eyes met Manny's. "Sir. I'm sorry," he stammered, his voice low but full of sincerity. "I came here to show strength, to dominate. I didn't realize that true strength," he paused, struggling to find the words, "is not just in the fists. It's in respect, in patience, in humility." Manny nodded, placing a firm, reassuring hand on Bolo's shoulder. "Exactly," he said softly. "Many people think power is loud, aggressive, and visible. But true power is quiet. It is consistent. It is measured. It does not need to announce itself." The crowd watched, mesmerized. The transformation in Bolo was palpable. The towering, imposing figure that had entered the room with the intent to intimidate was now reflective, calm, and humble. Even the youngest fighters in the audience, who had idolized Bolo for his on-screen persona, found themselves learning a lesson about discipline and humility in real life. Bolo took a deep breath and looked around the room, finally meeting the eyes of the audience who had watched the spectacle unfold. "I have trained my entire life to conquer opponents, but today, I learned that conquering oneself is the greatest victory." The room erupted in applause again, this time slower, more reverent. People were not cheering for a fight, they were cheering for a lesson witnessed, a life changed, a pride humbled, and a respect earned. Cameras captured every angle, Bolo bowing slightly in acknowledgement, Manny offering a small smile, the crowd on its feet, the energy palpable. Then, Manny turned toward the staff and the volunteers who had worked tirelessly for the event. "This is what we are here for," he said. "Not for pride, not for show, but to help those who need us the most. Strength without purpose is meaningless. Respect without action is empty." Bolo, still catching his breath, nodded in agreement. He walked over to the youngest volunteers in the room, teenagers and children inspired by the legends around them, and knelt to meet their eyes. "Remember," he said gently, "true strength is not about making others fear you. It's about helping, teaching, and showing respect even when no one is watching." The audience, swept up in the gravity of the moment, began whispering among themselves. Some wiped tears from their eyes. Some were silent, reflecting on the lesson they had just witnessed. A few younger fighters approached Bolo and Manny, shaking hands, asking questions, eager to learn. This moment, they realized, was bigger than celebrity, bigger than reputation. It was about character, discipline, and the kind of courage that isn't measured in punches, but in humility. Finally, the cameras pulled back, capturing the full scene. Be on the lookout, once a symbol of raw, unchecked power, transformed by respect, Manny, calm, unwavering, a teacher in action, the audience, electrified and inspired, carrying the energy of a lesson that would resonate long after the event ended. Type humble in the comments if you believe true strength is silent and respect is earned. Tell me, did you see Bolo transformed, or Manny's quiet power more inspiring? The room slowly settled, but the story lingered in the air. Everyone knew they had witnessed something unforgettable, a clash of egos turned into a lesson for a lifetime, a moment where true champions were revealed not by victories, but by the courage to teach and to learn. The room had finally begun to quiet down, yet the energy that lingered was electric. People were no longer just spectators, they were witnesses to something far greater than any spectacle, any fight, or any celebrity performance. They had witnessed a lesson unfold in real time, a lesson that transcended fame, muscles, or reputation. Bolo Yeung, once the embodiment of raw strength and intimidation, stood humbly at the center of the ballroom. His chest still rose and fell from the adrenaline, but there was a calm in his eyes that had not been there before, the calm of someone who had learned something profound. For decades, he had believed power was measured in size, speed, and aggression. Tonight, he learned that true power is measured in restraint, respect, and the courage to stay humble even when all eyes are on you. Manny Pacquiao, serene and composed, glanced around the room. The crowd had begun whispering excitedly, some still recording, some replaying the moment in their minds, trying to absorb the weight of what had just happened. Manny's gaze softened as he addressed the audience, his voice calm but resonant, cutting through the hum of anticipation. Respect isn't something you show only to the strong, or to the famous, or to those you think can help you. It is something you show to everyone, especially when you think no one is watching, he said. Because one day, the person you look down on might be the one you end up looking up to. Bolo nodded slowly, his massive hands folded in front of him. I came here thinking I would prove myself, to show power. But I leave here understanding that humility is stronger than any punch, and respect is more lasting than any reputation. The audience erupted in applause, not just for the spectacle of the moment, but for the lesson it carried. Even reporters, who had expected a dramatic showdown for headlines, were silent, recognizing the magnitude of what they had witnessed. It wasn't about fame, victory, or dominance. It was about character, patience, and self-control. Pacquiao turned to the young volunteers and children at the event. You see, he said, smiling, the strongest man is not the one who can strike the hardest or move the fastest. The strongest man is the one who respects others, stays calm under pressure, and knows that real power is used to uplift, not destroy. Bolo walked over to a group of young fighters who had been watching wide-eyed. He knelt slightly, looking them in the eyes. Remember this moment, he said gently. You can train every day to be strong, but true strength comes from how you carry yourself. Never underestimate the power of humility, the power of patience, and the power of respect. The room was filled with a profound silence, the kind that only happens when a lesson lands so deeply it cannot be ignored. People reflected on their own lives, on the moments when arrogance had clouded their judgment, or when they had overlooked someone deserving of respect. The energy had shifted from spectacle to introspection, from admiration to inspiration. Manny nodded toward Bolo. Today, we all learned something, he said softly. Some lessons are louder than any fight. Some victories are quieter than any roar. And sometimes, the person you think you can overpower is the one who teaches you the most important lesson of your life. The crowd rose to its feet. Cameras flashed, phones recorded, but for a moment, no one was focused on social media, on viral clips, or on celebrity gossip. Everyone was present, witnessing a truth that transcended fame, that the essence of strength lies in humility, and that respect is the foundation of every true champion. Speech balloon type respect in the comments if you believe humility is real strength. Tag someone who needs to see this lesson. And tell me, where are you watching from? I want to celebrate all of the kind, humble warriors out there. As the event slowly wound down, Bolo and Manny shook hands once more, this time without tension, without ego, just mutual respect. The room erupted one final time, not for a fight won or lost, but for a moment of transformation that would be remembered forever. Because in the end, true power is silent. True respect is earned. And the lessons we carry from those we least expect to teach us can shape our lives far more than any victory ever could.